Hello, my dear friends and fellow developers. Welcome back to my channel. So today we are going to continue our journey in which we are discussing different topics related to our LWC framework. In our last session, we have discussed like what is reactivity and how we can achieve reactivity in our LWC framework. We have also seen how we can achieve public field reactivity with the help of Adret API. So with the help of Edit API, we can expose any property or method so that any LWC component can access that property and method and do some operations as per need basis. So today we will continue the same topic in a depth so that we can understand more clearly how this reactivity works in our LWC framework. So let's begin. So today we will discuss how we can achieve field reactivity. So the first point, which is should be known by anyone of you right now, which is that all fields are reactive. So now, as per the latest LWC framework release, we can say that all fields are reactive by default. But how this reactivity is actually achieved in our LWC framework? So basically, what LWC does is like it checks for the value of the field change and the property of a getter change in our HTML template. So it basically continuously checks for these changes whether the value of a particular field is changing or value of a particular getter is changing, which is used in the template. Then only the component will be re-rendered and we will achieve the field reactivity. If let's suppose there is a variable we have defined with array API and something like XYZ, and we are not using that variable in our template. So it will not track that for the changes and the component will not re-render. So it is a key point that the property or you can say the field which we want to make as a reactive, it has to be used in the template. So this is one thing. So once this condition is achieved and if there is some value change in either field or in either the property of a getter, so the component will be re-rendering itself. So this is how the field reactivity is achieved in the LWC framework. But there is one key point which needs to be noticed is that although we are saying that all fields are reactive, but LWC engine tracks the field value changes in a shallow fashion. Shallow fashion in the sense what we are saying like it compares the new value with the old value with the help of strict equality operator. So basically what it does is like it simply compares the values which is the current new value and the old value, and if there is a difference then only the component will be re-rendered, otherwise it will not render the component at all. But there is one more point that it only works in case of primitive data types like number and boolean. So this is one thing which needs to be considered. But now it is saying that it only works for primary, like number and boolean. So what about the complex object types, like objects and array? Right, means the data type which is more complex, not a primitive one, like list of objects or list of arrays, or vice versa. So how the things will be rendered or how we can make that reactive? Because now when the value of an object changes, basically it targets to a memory location. Okay, so that we cannot track or that LWC will not track. So in that case we have to use an separate decorative rather than either API, which is either track. So what it does is like it checks for the individual element of that particular data structure, whether it is object or array, and if there is any field change or if there is any mutation in the particular element of an array or particular of an object, so what it does is like it re-renders the component. So this is one thing. So whenever we are dealing with primitive data type like number boolean, so at that time we can make use of other API to make our field reactive. And if we are dealing with complex data structure like object array or more complex like list of arrays or list of objects or map of string of objects like this data structure, so in that case we have to make use of other track, otherwise the reactivity will not work as expected because it is complex one and LWC works in a shallow fashion manner. These are some of the key points which we should consider when we are trying to make our field reactive. And field can be either a primitive type field or it can be like complex data type field like object and array. So now let's see one example to understand more clearly how the things work. So basically here we have one code snippet in which basically we are showing two input elements. We can say two text boxes which will take input from the user. So the text box names are first name and last name. and based on this first name and last name, we are giving the uppercase full name. So how the things are working is like, whenever this page will render, or you can say this LWC will be rendered in our web browser. So we will see two text boxes like first name and last name. And now let's suppose if users type anything either in first name or last name, so it will fire an handle on change event, which will be cached by handle change function. So now handle change function, what it does is like, it is basically first fetching the name. So name is nothing but we have specified in our input element, like input name first name, input name last name. So by that name it will fetch the name, and then what it is doing, it is fetching the particular value which we have given over here, and then it is assigning it over here. But here we can see the getter uppercase full name over here. Since this is a getter function, so it has to be used in our HTML template so that the processing can be happening whenever the value changes. So now let's suppose whenever the user will change any value, so it will call this getter function, because this particular method name, which is uppercase full name, is used in our template, and it will automatically re-render the entire component based on the changes. So this is the code snippet. And now these are the examples, or you can say the UI screen, how it will look. So initially, the our when the LWC will render, it will look like this, which will the empty text boxes with first name, last name, and there is nothing over here. But now let's suppose you have given first name as Pramod. So since there is a getter involved, as we have seen in the code, so what it will do, it will simply truncate, or you can say concatenate the value of first name and last name with Pramod. And if we give the Jana, so it will give Pramod Jana. So this is how this code snippet will work. And this is one of the example how we can make our field reactivity, and how we can achieve the reactivity when we make use of getter functions over here. So yeah, that's pretty much for today's session. Hopefully this was fruitful to you. Like here we observed what is the use of track operator and why it is used over here, and we have also seen one example. If there is any doubt regarding the reactivity, like which we discussed in my previous session, like public field reactivity or this current one field reactivity, then you can drop a comment. I will be happy to explain you the concepts or your doubts.